Welcome to the hottest real estate topics on the planet, keeping you up to date with all the creative ways to buy and sell real estate without bank qualifying, so anyone can build real income starting today. Here is another great show with Dealmaker Bill and Pete the Rookie.
All right, here we are at another episode of Flipping Houses for Rookies. How's that, Pete?
You sound like you're awake.
I'm awake. I am awake. I wasn't awake a few minutes ago, but I'm awake now. Episode 116, Peter.
Sounds good.
Yeah, we got some cool stuff going on, huh?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Things.
Yeah.
Never a dull moment.
Never a dull moment. Even when I'm not in good shape, it's not a dull, never a dull moment.
Just different kind of not dull.
Name of today's episode is 30-Minute Talk. We're on a roll now. We've changed the podcast from 60 minutes to 30 minutes. So to let people know that, we keep saying 30-Minute Talk.
Mm-hmm.
So 30-Minute Talk on real estate investing gone bad.
Bad?
Bad.
Does that ever happen, Bill?
No.
That's good to know.
Let's listen to the rest of the description.
Oh, boy, just keep my name out of it.
Gee, Peter, we bring up the word bad and right away you're ducking. Keep my name out of it.
That's
You've
right.
associated your name with bad?
No, I associate it with good, not bad. Don't include my name. I'm trying to keep up my good reputation here.
All right, well, you're hanging around the wrong guy then. Ever notice when people are in a group, they tend to be on their best behavior? And in most cases, your skeletons stay in the closet where they belong, right? This happens with real estate speakers and mentors too. You only hear about the good deals. You never hear about the bad deals or the problems. So today, I'm going out on a limb, Peter. I'm going way out on a limb.
Well, just don't go too far, Bill.
I'm telling you, I'm going way out on a limb. And let folks know that sometimes it's not a bed of roses, and sometimes the rose-colored glasses have to come off.
So, or else they crack.
Or they blow up in your face and you can't see for a while. Okay. In this episode, not only will you hear about my last really bad deal, okay, but what I'm going to do about it to recover, what I have done in the last few weeks to recover from the miserable experience, because it wasn't miserable. I'm still miserable about it. I mean, just ask Emma. She'll tell you. She hides in her office now because I'm like, wah, rah, 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 right? So the reason why I want to do this is so that folks could possibly avoid it and actually pick up some tools that they can use. So if it happens to them, or when it happens to them is probably more like it, they know how to get out of it. So today is not going to be a happy, cheerful, yeah, rah, rah, rah type of thing. I'm actually going to, I'm nervous about it because I think I'm going to be a little vulnerable. And the world is usually a mean place. At least I have found that no matter how much good you spread, somebody's there to kick you in the nuts to make you feel a little bit more pain.
But, Bill, that's how we identify the assholes in the world.
I understand, but they still come out.
Yeah, but we label them, we put them aside, and go hang out with our friends then.
Okay, but they still come out, and it hurts when they come.
It does. No, not arguing that point at all.
Yeah. So,
but, I have to compliment you on doing this because it's true. You know, people think PR is important, and of course it is.
PR meaning public relations.
Public relations, sure, and having a good image, and everybody has an image and all that too. But when you educate, you have to show both sides of the coin.
Right.
You really do, and you have to show people what to do,
right,
and what not to do.
Right.
So it's important lessons.
So I want you to be a rookie, and I want you to ask the key question.
Yeah.
Bill, why are we doing this show today? What prompted this? So go ahead.
Hey, Bill, why now?
It's a good question.
What prompted this? I mean, you know, there's a few weeks ago that particular house happened. Are you just get to the point you can talk about it, or what's going on?
It's a good question. It's a very good question.
Well, you told me to ask, so I guess you'd think it's pretty cool.
So, I belong to a networking marketing group. I used to belong to several of them, so I would go out a few mornings a week, and I would find a lot of people to work with, which, by the way, for our listeners, that's a great way to find a success team. You know, I know that a lot of guys talk about having your success team, and I kind of poo-poo it a little bit, but the part that I poo-poo about is that you don't do that first.
No, it's just the timing.
Yeah.
No, putting a team together before you have a game is
Right.
is not a game.
Right. So what I do is I put them together as I go.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So anyways, that's a good way to do that is with networking. So this one group, I've kind of stuck with it. You know, I mean, the others I stuck with, but this one I've been probably 3 or 4 years at this point. And I actually do their marketing for them. And they came up with this idea that they wanted to do this small business forum where they help startup businesses like get going.
Mm-hmm.
And so last night we had our first event.
Oh, you had the workshop.
Yeah.
How'd that go?
It went really good.
How many people actually showed up? Because you had a lot that might have showed
so
up.
that's the interesting part is we had 90 people confirmed on Facebook I use Eventbrite, and I also use Facebook events.
Yeah.
And we had 93 people confirmed and 20 showed up, which is very unusual because usually it's 50%. At least that's what it's been. But I don't know what's going on this year. Even our flipping houses meetup.
Yeah.
The numbers are way low.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been since like July. And I don't know why that is. You know, it's something strange, something I haven't figured out.
Yeah, also, when we started, a group of people showed up right away. And the core group stuck with us for months and months and kept learning and learning and learning.
Right.
It seems to be that you have these newbies that show up, then they go home. Another bunch of newbies show up, and they go home like they're shopping.
Right.
Like, let's go down to Walmart now.
Right.
Hey, want to go to Marshall's? Hey,
Right.
they're just shopping around.
Right.
Not digging their feet in anywhere.
And I think part of that is that there's a lot of people that are claiming to do what we do.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's a lot of people that are trying to teach it, and maybe that's true. I mean, Emma and I were doing some research a couple weeks ago about that, and I didn't think there was as many as there are, but there's a lot of people that profess that they, want to teach you how to buy and sell real estate, and whatever about that. I think the difference with me is that, I'm thick-headed, and I want to make it work, and I want to help people to my own detriment. I mean, you're watching it now to my own detriment. I keep pouring money into it and pouring, doing things like this podcast every week. I mean, this is a barrier for us. I mean, every Thursday morning, we kill a Thursday morning just doing a podcast.
Well, it's the only thing we have scheduled.
Right.
You're actually getting scheduled, like sit down and make phone calls, but that's
Right.
new.
Right.
We'll schedule this before we actually schedule working.
Right.
I'll kind of work as a byproduct when we can slip it in between all the stuff we do.
Right. So, anyways, so we did this meeting last night, and we were in a restaurant where we did the meeting, and at the end of the day, there was almost 40 people there. We had new people, we had some old members, and so of course this is my core group. So my attorney's there, right? I'm making way too much of a story out of this. My attorney's there, so we're like off to the side, and we're kind of chatting. You know what I mean? And I had a levy on my checking account, and it was from a lawsuit that I was sued, which I didn't even know. I was sued for a house in 2012. We closed on the house, and the attorney and the realtor, I no longer use the attorney because he did some kind of crazy stuff. Like, for example, we sold a house one time, and 3 months later I got served foreclosure paperwork. And I'm like, why did I do this? And when I call the bank, it's like, because you didn't pay the mortgage. I'm like, well, I closed like 3 months ago. And they're like, well, we didn't get the money.
No, the attorney has the money. The attorney disperses
had
the checks.
$141,000 and he never paid the bank. Okay.
If anyone's going to follow the law, you think an attorney would,
Right.
an attorney, a cop,
Yeah, and so that now I'm involved with him in a bunch of, but this is 2012. I'm involved with him in a bunch of deals. And next thing you know, my partner is telling me about, we had bought a gas station, like a closed down gas station, because I was in the gas station business, so I knew that business. I know that business very well, and I owned a gas station, and I had bought and sold a couple of them, and so we had bought a gas station, and he had closed, or we had closed, and the same thing happened with a tax bill. There was a $21,000 or $23,000 tax bill that wasn't paid. And it was the same attorney. So we stopped using that attorney. Well, this is the same attorney that was back then. This is before that happened, right?
Strike three.
Yeah, pretty much. So it was a water bill, a $750 water bill that wasn't paid at the closing. And evidently, I don't know why I'm such a dumbass with this. I don't know how it happened. But somehow he got a court order, and this was in 2012.
Mm-hmm.
And then last week I go into my personal checking account, and there's like $2,000 missing. $2,000. They sued me for $750.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm talking to my attorney about it last night because I have an idea. Which actually I didn't even know I was going to talk about this. It's just kind of like we're chit-chatting, right?
Well, you're talking about bad news, right?
Yeah, well, that's bad news. Okay.
Okay.
So what happened was I'm like struggling with this in my mind because I'm thinking, why did this happen? Forget about the money. I mean, the money is the money, and this stuff always happens when it's bad. I mean, when you get down and out, like shit just piles on top of you and piles on top of you, and I've noticed that so many times. I mean, it's like when things are good, things are good. And when things are bad, things are bad.
So you're saying like there's a good portal and there's a shit portal?
Yeah, except I figured it out. I in the last couple of days, I'm like crawling out my way out of this, okay? And this is not even what I was going to talk about. This is not the bad deal I'm talking about. This is just a by the way. So I'm talking to my attorney, and I tell him, well, I'll just tell you. The idea that I have is, why did this happen? And I understand that he sued me, and it's like all the mechanics. And I'm like, blah, 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 in my head, right? Mm-hmm. The part that I don't understand is why the bank allowed it to happen.
Which part?
The bank allowed
this recent levy?
This court order is 6 years old.
Mm-hmm.
So why did they allow it to happen? Even more importantly, the house was in a trust, and I was the trustee. I was not the beneficiary. The house was in a trust, which I use trust all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So how are they able to sue me in a trust? And I'm the trustee.
Oh. Well, my question is, why wasn't it paid at the suit way back when?
Yeah, why didn't they levy accounts back in 2013? I don't know.
I mean, why didn't your lawyer just, got a lawsuit, here, pay it? Obviously, he's bad at paying things, but...
I might have made that decision. I don't remember. I'm going to take full responsibility for I made bad decisions. I don't even know about that. I'm just going to take the responsibility for that.
Okay.
So we're talking about this, right? And we're talking about this deal. We're in the meetup, like in the back, like the guys are, everybody. He says, by the way, I forgot to tell you something. I said, what's that? I had a girl, a woman, that I was involved with about a half a dozen deals last year. And she was a lender, and she was a realtor, and represented me, and was just horrible.
And you're saying this to the attorney?
No, I'm telling you that.
Yeah, but this is you talking.
He says to me, guess who popped up? And he uses her name.
Yeah.
I'm like, really? He goes, oh, yeah. I said, what's going on? He goes, she's getting sued. And the person that called me wants to sue the living crap out of her. I'm like, really? He goes, yeah, they're not only suing her personally, but they're suing her real estate company, and they're suing the realtor association.
Wow, what happened?
For allowing her to do whatever she did. I didn't ask.
Oh.
Anyways.
You're not curious what she did?
Long story here. I'm way off base here. But the long story
juicy,
here is that that's what provoked me this morning to do this deal. To talk about this deal. Okay? So let's just start with that. So I had this person. We'll call her
Carol.
Nah, let's have some fun. Let's call her. What was Opie's, what was that? And Mrs. B, what was her name?
Yeah, Mrs. B.
Mrs. B. So we'll call her
Yeah.
Mrs. B. What was that?
The Andy Griffith Show.
Andy Griffith
Griffith
Show,
Show.
yeah. Mrs. B.
Ron Howard's
God
grandma.
knows where the hell that came from, but let's just call her Mrs. B.
Hey, if you can be random, Bill.
Okay. Random, be random. Okay. So Mrs.
B.
and I are like doing deals. Now you were there, so you know
I
this.
saw
And
it.
we met in restaurants, and one of the things with me is that I am very, very careful on who I use for private lenders. I have a very unusual, I think it's very normal, but you guys have taught me that it's a very unusual viewpoint. I know, and I'm completely arrogant and pompous about it, and I don't mean to be, but it's just the truth. I know how to buy and sell real estate. I mean, there's no doubt about it at all. I know how to make money. When I want to turn it on, man, I frickin' turn it on. Okay? So if you want to come to my party, then you better play by my rules. Because it doesn't make a difference to me whose name is on the checks.
As long as you're one of them.
I know I'm going to be one of them because I control the whole thing. And I have no qualms about me. First of all, my name being on the check. And second of all, it's the biggest check in the room. It's usually how it is. My attorney talks about it all the time. You've heard him talk about it.
Yep.
He's like, I got to learn about what you do.
That's right. There's people who work with you or us. They say, why do I do this?
And everybody makes money. I believe everybody around me needs to make money, right? So anyways, so we interrogate her because I'm like, she wants to lend me money. You know, at first she was like, you know, I'll give you $1 million, and then it was 500, and it kept changing. So we interrogate. So anyways, I proceed with her very cautiously. We bought a couple deals, and it was kind of okay, you know. It was kind of like, you know, I had this girlfriend, and it was like I never knew on Friday night's date if she was going to be like, oh, let's do this and let's do that, or it was going to be like, rah, 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 right? It was like I never knew, you know, kind of like you're in a restaurant, right? And the waiter would come over. You know, you'd be in a nice restaurant, and the waiter would come over, and something in her would snap, and all of a sudden you're in the middle of a scene in the restaurant. I mean, that's what it was like with this girl. Right?
Been there.
Yeah, Peter says been there. He's not even going to comment, right? So, anyways, I'm way out of range with this. So the point that I'm trying to make is that so I'm swinging in the MLS. In other words, I'm like making offers. I'm like, because it's the type of business to do this past year. You know, the last couple of years, MLS business. If you have money, you could buy some houses. I mean, it's all planned. It's all very structured. But the banks back in this is 2018. Back in 2016 and 17, were cleaning up inventory. So there was a lot of houses on the MLS because the bubble was high. They knew it. They knew money was available. They knew that they were top dog, and they knew that they can get clean up inventory. So she had me convinced that, and she was really good. She was good at scouring the MLS and like following them. And what she was really good at was putting an offer in. They said no, and then watching it. She was like, and what I didn't realize in the beginning is she was really a flaming stalker.
Bill, it's like a housewife watching soap operas.
Yeah. She
She knew everything, who lived there, where they went, and this happened, that happened.
It was like she had private eye. She was like
all over. She had her area.
Yeah.
She knew the street. She knew the houses. Oh, that one 2 years ago. This one 4 years. Yeah. She knew what was going on.
She was like a stalker.
She did it.
So, anyways, I go over to what the hell's the name of the street? In Meriden, Liberty Street. So I'm over at Liberty Street, and I'm like driving by, and I see this house, and I'm like, oh, I like that house, and it's vacant. So I like call her up, and I'm like, can you get me in? Because I would call her, and she would give me, you know, access codes, right? Which she's not supposed to do, but she did, right? So I'm over there. I think we went over there after we did a seminar, and I had some students. We did like we're talking about this weekend. You know, I'll do seminars. There aren't seminars; they're workshops, and we'll have a handful of people. You know, like 5 or 6 people that will sit in a boardroom, and I'll just like do this and do that, pick up the phone, say this, and get them to do deals, right? So we do that. Not often, but often enough.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And I don't charge a lot of money to do that. It's usually people that I know. Instead of like telling somebody how to do it like 15 times, I'll just put people in a group in a room and charge them a few $100s for the day, and then we'll just.
You get to the point you have to actually work and drill and
Right.
practice, and it's just easier if they're sitting in front of you, not just explaining it, doing it.
Right. So we leave this little thing that we're doing, this little seminar, where I don't know what to call it, workshop, and I'm like, I'm gonna go look at a couple houses. And they're like, oh, where are you going to go? So anyways, I end up taking like 2 or 3 of them with me because they just wanted to see me do it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I go over to the house. Anyways, long story short, I call her up and she like gets me in the house. So we're like walking around. I really like this house. I wish to this day I bought this house, right? And I didn't buy it, okay? But around the corner, she says there's another house there. And it was 35 North Pearl.
Mm-hmm.
So I walk through the house and I'm like, well, it starts with, she comps it at 160. I'm like, I don't know, it's like 140. Long story short, at this point, I have like 5 or 6 houses at the time. You know, I'm kind of like stretching my private lender guys, you know, my normal network, you know. I mean, I've got, you know, $1 million plus in real estate out, you know, because I've got like 5 or 6 houses.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like I got $1 million whatever out, you know. So I'm like, so anyways, she like spends like a week like convincing me that I should buy this house. First mistake.
Yeah, but isn't it a conflict when somebody's being the realtor to tell you what the price is and also being the lender to lend the money on it?
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. She told me she was going to lend me the money when I wrote the contract, and then ducked and wouldn't give me the money.
Well, if you're so confident in your numbers, why are you ducking?
Right. And I didn't take this because I was just kind of like, sometimes you just roll, right?
Yeah.
So I end up going to a lender. I know a guy that I met that his father owns 250 apartments in Middletown and has quite a bit of money and wants to become a private lender. So I'm like, well, fortunate for you, we know one another because I got a group and I could probably, I'm like, how much you want to do? He's like, I want to start off with $1 million. I'm like, okay, well, I could probably get you some really solid people. Like within the next month, I could lend out that $1 million, no problem. I mean, I got people in my coaching group that I could get you to. I mean, at the time we had the girl from Fairfield on there. One of her deals was $300,000. I could just put her. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So, anyways, long story short, I set this deal up with him. Which, by the way, I borrowed money from him that first time because what he ended up doing was he went to a local bank, some bank here. They have this new program, and they told him if you put $1 million in the bank, we'll give you a $3 million line of credit. So he turned $1 million into $3 million. What he did when he did that is his father got super nervous, and what ended up happening was he ended up hiring a banker to run the portfolio. So now where we were doing private money lending, it was no longer private money lending. It was like a banker saying it was hard money. They wanted deposit money. They were, you know, all this stupid crap
banking
stuff.
rules.
So, but he lent me the money to buy this house, 35 North Pearl. So I buy the house. And I go in there, and I go through the winter, and I start doing my renovations, right? And I have one guy that's doing the renovations, and that was my second mistake is he convinced me that he could do all the work. I didn't need to hire anybody else but him. So I'm like, he had done 2 or 3 jobs for me. He'd done really nice work. It was like, okay, his number was low enough that if it took him a little bit longer, it was okay because I was paying lower money. Next thing I know, Jesse comes along and
Your daughter.
yeah, my daughter, and comes along and buys a house. I remove him out of the house and put him into Jesse's house, and we're supposed to be 1 month, ends up being almost 3 months. Long story short, the renovation runs longer. It turns sour with the contractor, and at the end of the day, I own this house for 13 months, 14 months. I put it on the market with a new realtor, right? Which that's it. We're done. We are done because we are just done. I'm done with realtors in general. I'm going back to what I used to do, which is the moral of the story. So we end up going through. It sits on the market because it's kind of like not the best. You know, it's a nice house. We did a nice job with it, but it's just it's just a plain old big house, right? So we go through the closing, and the closing was horrendous. I mean, I keep getting offers for $130, and I own it for $140. and then I haven't got any of the repair money. I have no, because there's going to be, so it's like I'm $10,000 negative. Anyways, long story short, I say no 3 times to the realtor. She brings me 2 or 3 offers. I say no, and she's like, rah, 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 and she's kind of got a hair across her ass, but I'm just following my gut. So anyways, we find somebody that will pay us, like $137 or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So I signed the contract. I'm not going to get into that because we're way into the show, and I want to cover a couple more things because we're 23 minutes in, and I'm taking too much time telling the story. Bottom line is I sell the house, and I lose tens of thousands. Right? I mean,
it didn't seem to be tens.
Okay. So how much was it?
I don't know. I thought it was around 15 or 16.
Okay, so
that's
all right.
Not,
so
I just want you. I don't want you to feel worse than it is.
Yeah, okay, so it's a lot of money.
Yeah.
By the time I get done,
enough.
it was like
anything that isn't positive is enough.
It was
loss.
almost $20,000.
Yeah.
Okay, so the point is I have not had that happen in 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it's since the crash in 2009.
Mm-hmm.
I did it then, but when I did it then, I sold other houses. I was like lumping them together, so I was making profit on one house and paying the debt off on the other house.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been very cautious. Okay, so it happens, and it hurt my feelings. It's not even about the money; it just hurt my feelings. I mean, it was just an ego thing.
Well, you know better.
Yeah.
And sometimes things go a little screwy, and you look back and say, "Yeah, shouldn't have did all that whole thing," because you know better. You know how to do it.
And then on the back of that, you and I have a house that we end up, at the end of the day, we end up blowing money on that house too.
Mm-hmm.
So we had 2 closings in the same month that we blew money on. And now we're like rolling your deal, it's your deal, I say your deal, but our deal, into another deal to make up for it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like all of a sudden there's like, so I got the 2 deals and then the levy on my account, all in the same month.
It's like strike 3. It's enough.
Yeah, right. So the things that I want to bring about here that keeps me alive, because I think you said a week or so ago, or if it wasn't you, it was somebody else. It's like, how do you do this? Because it was like, how do you do this?
Mm.
And here's how I do it. Okay. So what I do know is if you put your attention on something. Now we all know where your attention goes, energies flow, results show.
Mm-hmm.
I talk about that all the time.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
So it's like whatever you put your attention on is what you get. So that's cool. We got that datum. But really what it is when you put your attention on something, you validate it. And that's what I've been doing.
It's like you give it power.
Yeah.
You give it
You make it real.
Uh-huh.
So the fact that I lost money on that deal, and I'm like invalidating myself. Like, what did you do wrong? What's the matter with you? I made it real.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like telling myself
you made it stronger instead of go away.
Yeah.
Huh.
So it's like that's why your deal probably went sour. That's why.
Well, there's other reasons. That's its own little story, but
it could have been better. I think it could have been better. I wasn't as strong. My point is that
I'll talk about that at next week's show.
Yeah. So what
Pete
happens?
learned.
Yeah. So what happens is you validate the wrong things, right? So the thing to do is to discard the unimportant stuff. The yucky stuff, just discard it.
Yeah. If you lose, okay, learn from it, dump it, move on.
Right. You know what I mean? So it's like when you have something going on in your life and it's not going well, discard the bad stuff.
Yeah.
And pay attention to the good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The other thing I notice is that when I have problems, I'm kind of weird. I'm weird anyways.
What kind of weird you talking, Bill?
I'm kind of weird because what I do is I look for more problems. Because one of the things that I recognized is that you think about this. Most people think, let's do this. What do you have too much of in your life?
Problems.
Okay. That's a fair question because we're talking about that. But really, seriously, what do you have too much of in your life?
I'm guessing here. Time?
There's no answer. It's a real answer. Like you personally, what do you have too much of in your life?
Oh.
This is not. I mean, seriously, what do you have too much of in your life?
Wow.
See what I mean? There's not a lot of answers.
It's old, tired answers. Because every day is another day and kind of same old shit.
But seriously, think about it. Like, what do you have too much of in your life? You see what I mean? It's kind of weird.
It's almost like I don't have too much of anything, really, except time. But I don't care about that. I care what I do with it.
Or bills, or debt, or relationship problems, or it's all negative stuff.
Yeah, but what I find is if you have 10 things that happen in your life one day, 9 of them are good, 1 of them are bad, what do you think of at the end of the day?
The bad thing.
The one thing.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, and the 9 things, so you have to take advantage of the 9 things and not put all your attention on that one thing.
Right.
You'll eat yourself up.
So what do you have too much of in life? Just keep asking yourself that question. I'm going to be doing that. What do you have too much of in your life? What do you have abundance of?
And then what do you do with this answer?
I don't know. Just sort it out. Here's the opposite of that. What's scarcity? What do you have scarcity of? And that's what you tend to think about, right?
Yeah.
You don't think about what do you have abundance of. You tend to think about the scarcity because you don't have an abundance of something, so you automatically go to scarcity. So what are you validating?
The scarcity.
Right?
You're worrying about what isn't right, what isn't going well,
and
blah,
really
blah, blah.
and I'm getting profound at the end here. We're going to end in a couple minutes, but what is scarcity? Scarcity is the belief that you can't replace it or get more of it.
And that's so not true because the only thing you do every day, every second is create stuff.
Right.
And if you want to create bad stuff, you can go ahead. Might as well create good stuff. I've had people say, "Oh, I think it's going to be bad." And I said, "If you're going to think something, God's sake, why don't you just think something good?"
Right.
It's going to be bad. Well, it's going to be good.
So it's like being in a 10 foot by 10 foot room.
Yeah.
And you never go outside of those walls. So you're looking in that room for your solution, and it's not in that room. That's scarcity.
Yeah.
So what you need to do is go outside of those walls and look for the solution. And when you know how to do that, scarcity goes away.
That's what doors are for.
Right.
I'm serious.
Yeah.
Open doors. Doors to opportunity. It's probably not a mistake that they use that term.
Right.
It's doors everywhere. Open them.
Exactly. So here's what I want our listeners to do. Go back to episode number 113. It was called Who's Got My Money? About, we got that from Grant Cardone.
Yep.
So Who's Got My Money? Episode 113. And that's what you should be asking yourself every day. Now, to end the show, okay, what I want to talk about is what did I do? So instead of saying I made 2 bad deals, right, and oh my God, what am I going to do? I decided to hire an acquisition manager who's pretty sharp. And I decided to get on the phones. And in 2 days, we spent 3 hours the other morning and 3 hours yesterday. In 6 hours, I have like 4 deals working. I have a guy that I have to meet on Saturday that has two family houses that said he talked to one of us a while ago. I don't know who he talked to. Talked to one of us a while ago. And completely wants to do a lease option. And he says, I've got 25 people that offered that to me, but I circled back to you because I know you've been around a long time. And I know you're a company. I think he went to the Meriden Record, Meriden Town Hall, and found my name.
Huh?
And he saw all the deals I did.
Wow, interesting.
I think that's what he did. I'm not sure.
He did something.
Yeah.
To feel confident in you.
Yeah. But he's like, people are from Hartford but I don't trust those guys. For some reason, I trust you, and I think so. And then I start talking to the guy, and he's got like he wants to move the floor, and he's got other properties, and he wants to if this works, he wants to do more. We had a deal that we struck up the other day. You and I were working on it 4 months ago.
Yeah.
I called the guy, and all of a sudden, I got a letter of intent out.
Uh-huh.
We have an appointment for a condo this afternoon to go look at a condo, somebody that we couldn't reach for weeks, and all of a sudden, mysteriously picked their phone up.
Yeah.
Okay? So what I'm saying is that instead of thinking, as those houses that we did bad as problems, What I know I have to put my attention on, and this is the punchline of the show, and I'm telling you that we have 116 shows. That's at least 130 hours worth of training. Okay? I want to trump every single one of those minutes and hours with this stable datum. The only way to make money in real estate is to make offers. So you have to say to yourself, who's got my money and how can I make an offer? And if you put your attention on those two things every single day, every single minute, and make that the problem, like I don't have somebody to talk to make an offer. How could I fix that? And don't lose sight of it. I need to make an offer because an offer a day makes the debt go away. And as much as those two deals wiped me out, I get back on my feet by making offers. And weeks later, I've got deals flying around and ready to go because I put my attention on making offers. Okay?
Sounds like you took your own advice, Bill.
Yeah, exactly.
Good move.
Whew. You did all right?
Well, I hope you feel better.
I will after we eat.
Okay.
So, Emma, I didn't write down that URL. Oh, yes, I did. Okay. So, Emma has done something wicked amazing. I didn't write it down, Emma. Oh. Emma has done something amazing.
Yeah.
From this point forward, actually, we've done a couple amazing things. I know we're at 36 minutes right now, but I'm just going to take one more minute to explain what's in the future. First of all, as of this podcast, or as of this afternoon, you can go to flippinghousesforrookies.com/free stuff. And everything's on one page. You can click on links and
really?
go get
free stuff. Seriously?
Free stuff.
All right.
And there's things on there like FSBO scripts and the prospect suspect screens, lease option explained, my case studies on there. There's how to weed out the suspects, the 7 deals. She just revamped it. So if you want to see how to do a slot deal, you go to flippinghousesforrookies.com/slot. And you can watch me do a slot deal. This is all free stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so go to flippinghousesforrookies.com. Free stuff. Free stuff.
Beautiful. That helps me too, because people ask me, "What do you do?" Blah blah. You have a website, yeah, but you have a list of URLs. I don't know where to send them. I can just say free stuff.
Constantly, and this was Emma's idea. I want to make sure she gets 100% of credit for it. It's free stuff. Yay, Emma! So free stuff. Okay, so just from now on, that's what we're going to be promoting is free stuff. Second of all, I want you to stay tuned because you, Emma, and myself have decided that we are going to do a second podcast. I think the name of it is going to be Flipping Houses Startup Bootcamp. And we're going to start at the beginning of finding, first of all, a little bit of mindset and how to get time to do this. And then we are going to do 20, 30-minute shows every single week, sometimes twice a week.
Mm-hmm.
And we are going to show you step by step how to go through a deal. Now, we're not going to teach you the entire business. We're just going to show you the steps.
Mm-hmm.
And that's going to be called Flipping Houses Startup Bootcamp. So we are going to start recording that pretty soon and start putting that out there. Within the next few weeks, we'll have this new podcast ready.
Yeah, I love the idea of doing that and having it in sequence because I've looked at sites when I first started doing this and I'd see probably something like our podcast, 116 somethings, and you don't know where to start.
Right.
So the podcasts week to week are good just for general information and, just for inspiration, whatever you want to call it. But for training, this is going to be great.
Right. So I want to just shout out before we go here, one of my coaching clients named Tim.
Mm-hmm.
I want to give him credit for that because this was something that he rattled me on. And here we are a week or two after we spoke about it. And it was completely Tim that gave me the perspective that when you come to our podcast, there's 120 shows and you don't know where to start.
Mm.
So I want to thank him for that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Well, he has got the perspective of somebody on the other side.
Right. So we're 6 or 7 minutes over our 30 minutes. So with that, we're over and out. Talk to you next week.
Thanks for tuning in to the hottest real estate topics on the planet with Bill and Pete. If you want to continue learning how to buy and sell real estate without money or credit, head over to flippinghouses.club for some cutting-edge real estate wealth tools. Or contact us at info@flippinghouses.club.